Okay, I think we'll get started now. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us today for our Ghorbeh Away from Home Open Mic. This event is co-hosted by Northwestern University and Qatar's Palestine Student Club, Georgetown University and Qatar's Student for Justice in Palestine Club, and Texas A&M's Palestinian Cultural Club. My name is Kana Khresha, and I'm the president of the Palestine Student Club.
Hello everyone, this is Rand Al-Agha, and I'm the president of the Palestinian Culture Club at Texas A&M University at Qatar.
Hi everyone, my name is Zena Assab. I'm the president of Students for Justice in Palestine Club at Georgetown University, Qatar.
So at last year's open mic, which was the first time we did this open mic, we had some really beautiful and touching interpretations of our theme, which was the theme of home. And this year we selected the theme Al-Ghurbeh, which can be translated roughly to mean away from home. And this encompasses ideas of diaspora, expatriation, foreignness, and much more. While these themes are very well known to Palestinians, they're also very familiar to international communities. And today we have professors and students from many different EC universities performing poetry, spoken word, music, singing, and showing short films or visual art. And with all of these different mediums, we're really excited to see how the EC community interprets the theme away from home. Please remember to mute your mics unless you're performing so that we don't interrupt anyone. And without further ado, we can get started. So our first performer for today will be Faiza from NUQ, performing poetry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my poem is about more about finding home in people rather than in places. I don't have a title for it yet, but yeah, I'm just gonna. That feeling of discomfort stubbornly grows. You find fragments of yourself belonging to different places, but never as a whole. Too fair-skinned to be from one country, but too dark for the other. Been told I look like, but don't share the same colored skin as my mother. Since when was there a rule that you had to be the same shade as every family member? Society can make you feel like an outcast, like you never truly belong, but you must push through and remember. Home allows you to love the color of your skin. Home encourages you to embrace everything you have within. Home is where you can be dying of laughter one second and crying your eyes out the next. Home is where you can pour your heart and soul out without worry that home will reject. I used to find myself grasping for memories that connected me to places, when instead I should have looked right in front of me and seen the warm glow of these familiar faces. Faces that have shared my highs and lows, faces that have stood tall beside me whenever the harsh wind blows, faces that have guided me despite not being near, faces that have made the feeling of discomfort slowly disappear. Thank you to these faces that have shown me I am not alone. Thank you to these faces that never allow me to feel away from home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. That was really, really nice. Up next, we have Regina Assa from Northwestern University in Qatar. She will be performing a spoken word.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane Assa, and I'll be reading out a flash fiction piece I wrote recently called A Mother's Promise. I hope you enjoy it. The bride and groom danced to the music. Their arms were raised and bride's hips swayed to the beat and rhythm of the music. She was in her own world, throwing her hair over her shoulder and smiling at the crowd around them. The wedding guests had joined in a circle around them to cheer them on. Zainab was part of the circle, clapping along. The circle was only women, so she felt comfortable standing there and she even moved her shoulders to the music. The wedding had been segregated into two parties, one for men and one for women. At Zainab's own wedding, it had been a mixed party. The groom's family was different though. They were more conservative, which made Zainab worry over her daughter's freedom, but her new husband so far seemed to be a reasonable man. It was a hard thing letting go of Rena, her only daughter, but she had to trust in Allah and believe that she was in safe hands. Zainab had done her best to prepare her for the world, a world that was filled with guns, blood, and death. Zainab closed her eyes and tried to resist, but it was too late. The thoughts swarmed in and filled her mind, squeezed her heart, and made her knees weak. She forced a bigger smile and tried to admire her daughter's dress. It was a big ball gown with a matching veil that trailed after her. Her daughter was officially a married woman. She would not return home with them and be Zainab's child anymore. She would be an adult. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Zainab tried to calm herself down by thinking of her own wedding. Zainab had once been a new bride, a new adult in the world. She had survived. No, she had thrived. Her husband had been good to her, her daughter had been an easy child to raise, and she lived in a big house. She had made it as homely as possible with plants, trees, and Islamic verses hanging on the wall, and over time it did become home. Pain shot through her heart, and her smile disappeared behind a somber expression. Zainab didn't bother fighting her thoughts this time. Her house wasn't her home. Her real home had olive trees, greenery that went on for miles, and beautiful mosques people gathered at for prayer and to socialize. Her real home had markets with sellers calling out in that beautiful Palestinian dialect, telling you to buy whatever new tea set they had for you. Her real home had children, beautiful, lively children, that ran the streets free to play and walked to school with no fear of not returning home. There were no bombs, no fire guns, no soldiers. There was only peace and Palestine. Palestine. She mouthed the word, savoring how light and right it felt on her tongue. Palestine was home, except she had never known it. Zainab's own parents had left it long before she was born and before they were even married to each other. She had grown up in a country that was not her own, and she had felt out of place. She had known no other country than the one she was raised in, yet she felt something was off. She knew this wasn't where she was supposed to be before other people told her so. She even had her wedding in this country, the same country where she had met her husband, who had also lived his whole life here and felt like he didn't belong either. Months before the wedding, they would often talk about how much they felt like outsiders and how they dreamed of staring up at Palestine's night sky instead. They dreamed of a home there and which city they would live in and what they would have for breakfast. They dreamed and dreamed and dreamed with no end result. It wasn't until Zainab was at her own wedding, dancing in her own husband's arms, that she realized that dream wouldn't happen, that she would be destined to live in this country and raise her children here. Even if it wasn't this country, it would be another country they also didn't belong to. The cycle would never end. No, she had thought, burying her head into her husband's shoulder. My children will not live my life. They will see Palestine, they will live in Palestine, they will be where they belong. I swear on my life that they will. Yet here she was, watching Rana in the same position, dancing at her wedding in a country that wasn't hers. Zainab thought of the babies Rana and her husband might have. She thought of how those beautiful babies will turn into adults that will also say they are Palestinian. They have never been to Palestine. She thought of how Rana would comfort her children the same way Zainab had comforted her, that it didn't make them any less Palestinian. Palestine was in their blood. They were Palestinian, and as long as they remembered that, there would always be hope. My grandchildren will see Palestine, Zainab thought to herself. They will see it and breathe Palestinian air and eat Palestinian figs, even if I'm not alive to see it. Palestine will be free and theirs to live in. With that promise in her mind and renewed hope in her heart, she finally found her laugh just as Rana locked eyes with her. Mama, she exclaimed, rushing forward to pull Zainab into the dance floor. For the rest of the night, Zainab allowed herself to forget the pain that came with being Palestinian and lose herself in the music and the food of her country. Thank you guys for listening. If you're interested in reading any of my other short stories, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where my handle for both is Lejane Creates. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lejane. That was really beautiful, and it was great to see it from the perspective of a mother, so that's a little bit different. Our next performer is Mahmoud Musa from Texas A&M, and he will be performing spoken word.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mahmoud Musa, the risk manager and events coordinator of the Palestinian Cultural Club in Texas A&M University. And I'll be telling a brief story about being a refugee. So we say in Arabic, بتموز بيستوي الكوز, and بتموز عصار الخشب, or in July the fruit ripens and July drains the wood, are two popular quotes we use indicating the intensity of this month's heat, in which summer fruits ripen and in which the wood dries up. His weight was no more than 1,100 grams. The diameter of a man's pointer is wider than his neck. His lungs did not open. Dr. Ghassan Awada said to his father, "The situation is very difficult. We cannot predict anything. We will have him in the hospital for 2 weeks. We'll do everything we can do, and he'll be in God's hands." 9 days later, on July 23rd, the man and his wife took their newborn baby out of the hospital. The drive from the hospital to home takes normally 7 minutes, but ladies and gentlemen, being a refugee means not living in the intuitive context of life. Being a refugee means that you do not live the normal. There, at the entrance to the camp, is a checkpoint that holds people's breath every day, killing or barely killing sick or young children, as in this case. The child's father was surprised by a long line of cars ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, to be a refugee means to come out of your mother's womb, but to enter to the womb of surprise. The father tried to be exceptional and beg away to protect his baby from the heat of July. 2 hours of failed attempts, punctuated by billions of looks at the lips of a child whose parents did not know when he would take his last breath. Meanwhile, an 80-year-old woman was sneaking among trees in a grove beside the entrance, trying to escape from one embarrassment scene to another. Imagine this 7-year-old baby, this 7-month-old baby, and I'm talking about now, is me. But what I want you to imagine is that I can say now that my age is a diaspora and 2 months. Or because I'm a 7-month-year-old baby, I can say that I'm more foreign than my generation by 2 months. It doesn't matter. There is a bit of non-foreignness we live. For example, when is the space for talking about duties of life, studies, work, in the mass detention boxes called camps. We touch the feeling of citizenship experienced by those who live in their homeland naturally, nor normally. It's a very, very heavy break from the routine of touching of foreignness. For example, if a jailer takes you out from the solitary confinement and into a large square where you can be flogged. This simple brevity can be projected into every day or every detail of our life. Children, students, university students, graduates, lovers, parents. It is the foreignness we breathe in all the details of our life. Although it seems as an inevitable fate, we will still refuse it after 72 years living everywhere in the world except where we must be in the first place, in Palestine. I remember once when I was a senior high school student, my friend asked me, "شو يعني لاجئ?" What it means to be a refugee. Obviously, he was asking about the English translation, but from the very first second I heard him, I didn't think this way. I wanted to tell him that it means a million words, feelings, situations. It means an inseparable state of life we experience every day. But instead, I just told him the English translation and moved on. And I still remember, he asked me that question in the civics class, which is supposed to teach us how to be civilians, despite we are not. So instead of listening, I started the first lines of an Arab poem that tries to answer this question. And I'm gonna sing it in Arabic because I hope I had the English skill at that time. So, أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تحمل الأرض على ظهرك وأن تخصص وقتا كي تسقي ورد حديقتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تحرث السماء وأن تحلب الغيم وأن ترتب الشواطئ وأن تعود إلى الخيمة كي تصفف شعر حبيبتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تحذر الشياطين والملائكة وأن أن تجحد بالأوثان وبالملاحدة وأن تكفر بالناطقين باسم الرب وأن تعبد الله على طريقتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تشطب من قاموسك الذل وأن تخلع الصمت عنك وأن لا تعرف السكوت. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن لا تموت وأن تولد كل يوم على صدر صحيفتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن يبقى سلاحك عند الجبهة وأن تروض الرصاصة كي لا تخطئ الوجهة وأن تظل حارسها فإن شئت أن تموت فوق ذخيرتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تقرأ التاريخ من رائحة التراب وأن تشرب كل يوم 1000 كتاب و1000 ديوان من الحب وأن تمسك بالروح نص قصيدتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تحب وأن تحب وأن تحب وأن تملأ بالحب قلب حقيبتك. أن تكون لاجئا يعني أن تولد مرتين وأن تكون من طينة عيسى وأن تعود من جديد إلى حبيبتك. شكرا. Thank you so much all for listening. It was a very great opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud. That was really, really good. Up next, we have Dr. Haitham Abu Rab from Texas A&M University. He will be performing a spoken word.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and really listening to the amazing students. I cannot say better words. Maybe in engineering, I would speak better, but those emotions really is unbelievable. Amazing, amazing students. And all of us are proud of you, all of you. I need to share my screen. Actually, I have photos. I would like to share with you a couple of photos and talk. I raised in Palestine. Hopefully you see, okay. So I raised in Palestine. I was born in Qabatia. Qabatia is very close to Jenin. On the south of Jenin, this is Qabatia. It's surrounded by mountains and amazing land. I raised here in this place and used to go all around those mountains, amazing views, amazing places, amazing olives and land. So I was connected with this land, with this village, with Jenin, with the whole Palestine. Studied over there, finished the high school, and then left Palestine to study abroad. Returned back, I worked in Birzeit University for almost 7 years, and then left Palestine and came here in Qatar. And of course, as my second country. So this I've been in Qatar for more than 14 years. Qabatia is very close to Jenin. Jenin is a very beautiful city on very fertile, even land, and it is very well known of the north of West Bank. I attended school in Jenin, and used actually to enjoy the life with grapes, olives. So this is a garden. This belongs to us. Frankly, this belongs to my brother, who is a professor at the university in Palestine, and it's almost 1 hectare of such amazing grapes. Enjoying this life. And by the way, I have also around 1 hectare of such garden with grapes and olives. It's a beautiful country, beautiful land, and just enjoy to go there and spend some of the time. So this shows how we enjoy the life over there. And I use actually with my family to go every year to Palestine. For this year, we were not lucky to go because of the COVID-19. And inshallah, this will end soon, and we will be able to go back and to see and to enjoy our land, raised with beautiful fruits, apricots, oranges, and many other types around us and at home. And go to the mountains, enjoy the food. You do your own simple food while collecting the olives, and going around those beautiful mountains, and collecting some of the flowers, the well-known nargis in Palestine. Very beautiful view, very beautiful country. Really, just go there and spend an amazing time. Not only, actually, we used to take our kids so that they are raised over there and they love Palestine and be connected. This is my son who is in the US studying and enjoys going, loves going to Palestine and spending the time. And by the way, when he goes to Palestine, he spends most of the time in Kabatia. So although I have a house in Ramallah, he does not go at all there. So when he leaves Kabatia, he goes just to Jerusalem. And his cousins, my nephews, and Abdulaziz is attending also this presentation. He is with us now, and he is a freshman at Texas A&M University. Speaking about that, the father of Abdulaziz, my father, this is Shamsuddin, his name. Shams actually was 15 years old when he took to the jail by the Israeli soldiers for 4 years. So you can just imagine 15 years old boy, just a boy, 4 years, while throwing stones on the occupants. But of course, decisive, educated himself and decided to build a nice house. And he built a very beautiful house here on the top of Kabatia. From this place, actually, so amazing, beautiful view. And this is the view. Just from here, so this is Kabatia, and next to it, Jenin, around 7 kilometers. Those mountains, this is Nazareth, Al-Nasira. So I would say from this point around 40 kilometers. From Jenin around 30 kilometers. It's very, very close. All those actually connected by this beautiful land between Jenin and Nazareth, Marji bin Amir, so-called amazing land. And when the weather is nice, actually here we see the Jabal al-Sheikh, so the south of Lebanon. So amazing view. And the other brother, actually, this is my next brother that I want to talk also a little about. He is a president of the university in Palestine. This is Khuduri. So there is 15,000 students. And also, when he was 16 years old, he was taken to the jail. He was put in the jail by the Israeli soldiers for 3 years. So he finished also the high school in the jail, and educated himself as well, finished the PhD, and now in Palestine as a president of the university. And he decided to have his very beautiful land just to enjoy there and to be there. So we try to be connected all the time and connect our generations with their family. This is my mother, and this is my youngest son. So to be proud and always connected, enjoys to go there and be with his grandmother. By the way, my grandmother raised as an orphan. Her father in 1948 was killed by the Israeli soldiers while defending Jenin, fighting with heroes, the Iraqi heroes, the soldiers who defended Jenin and fought. He is a martyr. And she was, when he died and he was killed, she had 7 years old. And his father, my grandfather, he left 5 kids. The oldest 13 years old, and the youngest 3 years old. And her mom actually raised them and never wanted to take any support, any help. So whenever they wanted, people wanted to give her some support, some help, her word was always, I will not sell the blood of my husband. So with high dignity, raised all of them. And always we are connected with our beautiful country, beautiful land. Whenever we go, we visit Al-Aqsa to be always in close connection, a frequent visit to our land, and to be proud of our roots. This is myself, this is my mother, and this is my aunt. That's all what I want to say. So I'm very happy that I'm able to go back and to visit my land, my Palestine, and inshallah, you will be able, everyone will be able one time to go there and to visit this beautiful, amazing country that we are proud to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abu Rab. That made me feel really nostalgic for home. Up next, we have Hasna Abdullah. She has submitted a few visual arts pieces. So the first piece, the paintings and drawings that she has submitted represent the idea of leaving our homes and how that affects our identities and leaves us lost without a destination. The three figures in the paintings are faceless or have distorted faces to represent the identity crisis people go through when they flee their homes. And the last piece, this painting highlights the Palestinian identity and how there's a constant struggle between the past and the present. The woman that is positioned in the middle is a symbol for the fertile land, as well as the olive trees growing from her head. She's also the future of the female who they can be decider in the future of Palestine. The quote says, سيدة الأرض ستعود يوما إلى أرضها. And it's all those who left their land in hope for a better future. Thank you so much, Hasna.
Thank you, Hasna, for sharing your beautiful art pieces. You're very talented. Our next performer will be Amir Abbas from Georgetown. He's Georgetown's campus director for this year's Holt Prize, a published author of a crime novel, and he has his own original music in the works inspired by the music of Elton John called Rocket Woman. So today, Amir will be performing poetry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so thank you so much for having me. It's honestly amazing to be here. And this one is called I Am Home. I am home. I've seen you take your first baby steps. I've seen baby showers and relatives taking turns to hold you when the baby blanket was 10 times your size. I've seen you say your first bad word. I've seen your siblings act like petty thieves in training, stealing toy trains and building blocks left and right. I am home. You're petting dogs for the first time. You fed the ducks and pretended to be a tree where pigeons can come and have a snack on your arms. You're giving a kitten its first head rubs and chin scratches. You're learning a few new words in a foreign language. You learned hello, you learned what is your name. Because I am home. I know all of your favorite songs. I've seen you go from Taylor Swift to Oasis to the Beatles to Elton John in one go. I've seen on Zoom and off Zoom mental breakdowns. Yeah, Zoomversity can be a bastard, but at least you managed to ship the two lead actors off to a relationship during rehearsals. I am home. There's no such thing as a second home. School lied to you about that. Again, I vowed to see your first engagement, your first wedding, your kids' birthdays, but never your first divorce. You're not the type of person to start a fight, let alone a breakup. Your hands would grow stiff trying to sign any divorce papers. But If they're the ones who started it, then give them hell. I'm right here rooting for you. Because I am home. Can't you see it? No matter what the politicians say, I'm not going anywhere. The bombs and the fighter jets and the raids don't faze me. I know who I am, and you should too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really, really lovely to hear. So I'm actually the next performer, so I will just introduce myself. I'm Ken Khresha, an UQ student, and I'm going to be reading a part of a short story I wrote last semester that was published in the summer. It's about a Palestinian girl who struggles with her identity as a third culture kid, and she constantly feels like she's missing a connection to her home country that should be there. Experience wears away at my identity like a river wearing away at a riverbank. I was born with key attributes: a nationality, a gender, a family, a name. Everyone else sees it quite simply: Palestinian, female, only child, that's Rania. If they're digging deeper, they might add a few additional labels: introverted, indecisive, reliable. But the more I make my way in the world, the more that core foundation is chipped away. I move from country to country, from school to school. With every choice I make, my path is split into hundreds of thousands of possibilities. Imagine a tree is uprooted. It can be replanted over and over again, but each time it's damaged just that little bit more. Each time it finds it harder to adjust to its new environment. Each time, its memory of that original piece of land where it first saw the sun grows more faint. Imagine that feeling. It's hard to verbalize it when you don't know exactly what it is. All you know is that you're supposed to feel that way, you're supposed to miss that place, or something is inherently wrong with you. You can't explain why, and you can't explain how either. The human brain isn't something that can easily be manipulated. You can't inject the emotions into your bloodstream. From the start, it was horrible. It was the summer before 7th grade, and we were visiting Palestine, as we always do. It had been nearly 11 months since I had last been there, so I was feeling awkward and clumsy. There was a large gathering with all my cousins, uncles, and aunts, and my mom convinced me to wear my Palestinian thobe. "You're sure it's not weird?" I asked, smoothing a hand over the fabric. "Of course not," she assured. "You look beautiful." That may have been the case, but I quickly realized that the people here didn't wear their national dress except for on occasions, and this was not considered one of those. The adults cooed over how pretty I looked, but the children shared amused glances as they lounged around in their casual outfits. Trying to ignore them, I greeted my aunts with 2 kisses on the cheek, but some of them went in for a third, leaving me awkwardly pulling back as they leaned in. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what the rule was for the number of kisses. When the greetings were over, my mom instructed me to serve the tea with a pointed glance, but I stumbled on the hem of my thobe with the tray in my hands, and one of the cups fell over, spilling the steaming liquid across the rest of the tray. As I hurried back to the kitchen to make more tea, I felt the shame burning in my stomach so intensely I thought I would puke. After that, I spent the majority of the gathering hoping no one would address me. If I spoke in English, they would send me disapproving looks and mutter about how westernized I was. If I spoke in Arabic, they would send me judging looks because I didn't speak Arabic fluently. The words didn't slide off my tongue like they did with my mom and my dad, but rather they felt thick and heavy. I slipped back into English every few minutes when I struggled to remember a word that I knew but couldn't recall in the moment. After dinner, my grandmother was gracing the family with funny stories. She spoke rapid Arabic, heavily accented, and it was hard to keep up. I tried not to stand out, laughing when the others laughed and staying silent otherwise. But of course my dad noticed and asked me, with no malicious intent whatsoever, if I had understood the story. To him, everyone around us was family. It didn't matter that he saw them so infrequently because he knew them as well as he knew me and my mom. But to me, most of these people were strangers. I couldn't even remember who some of them were. And with so many unfamiliar eyes on me, my cheeks burning bright red, I had to admit that no, Baba, I didn't understand the story. I always knew I was the odd one out amongst my cousins, the one who disappeared for months every year, then showed up in the summer with a distinct lack of an Arabic accent, dressed in clothing that didn't make sense to them. I had thought I was dressing modestly, but my jeans were too tight and my hoodie didn't cover my butt, and so my normal became abnormal. But that day was the day I felt strongly, for the first time in my life, that I did not belong there. Later that night, I confronted my parents, driven by the humiliation I had faced. I had felt it bubbling up inside me as the night went on, the urge to yell, to fight back, to lash out. When my mom was pulling the pins out of her hair and my dad was hanging his suit in the closet, I exploded. I knew I would regret the words I said, but I couldn't seem to stop myself. Why am I even here? I yelled. I hate coming here. I hate this stupid place. I want to go home. My mom lowered her hand slowly. She shared a confused look with my dad, who was staring at me as if I were a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. The silence seemed to stretch on forever. Finally, she spoke. But you are home. So that's all I'm going to read for today, but if you're interested in reading the rest of the story, I'll drop the link in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayan. That was really, really beautiful, and definitely we'll go check it out. So yeah. Up next, we have Dr. Sam Meekings from Northwestern University in Qatar, and he will be performing a poem. Sorry. Yeah, he actually submitted it. Sorry.
It's a poem called Flight, just at a time when we can't do any. We go because we long for this, returning. Because the hardest thing is letting go, we give half our lives to learning what it is we mean when we talk of home. Because the hardest thing is letting go, we rush through our goodbyes with jokes and laughs. What is it we mean when we talk of home? A tiny place stays unchanged inside our hearts. We rush through those goodbyes with jokes and laughs, then we haul off the baggage we can't forget. That tiny place that stays unchanged inside our hearts, the ghost box of memory, solace, regret. We haul off that baggage we can't forget, wondering if it might be possible to leave behind that ghost box of memory, a solace, regret, swap them for wings and wishes, for hope, for flight. Wondering if we might leave behind something of ourselves, we doubt our wings and wishes, our hopes, our flight. How much can we really bear to live without? Something of ourselves gives in to doubt. And since we spend half our lives learning how much we can bear to live without, we go because we long for this, returning. It's a poem called Flight. It's a poem called Flight.
Sorry, give me a second.
It's a poem called.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Sam, if you're here. That was really, really beautiful to hear. Our next speaker is Dr. Iyad Mas'ad from Texas A&M University. His performance is about the meaning of al-Ghurbah.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you. What I heard today is amazing. And I really enjoying hearing this from you as the young generation who represent Palestine so well. And what I want to talk about quickly is to reflect about what does it mean to live Ghorbeh and what does it mean to be a Palestinian. The famous late poet Mahmoud Darwish said, the metaphor for Palestine is stronger than the Palestine of reality. When you reflect on what he's saying, that representing Palestine in yourself and longing for Palestine that some of us never seen, or some of us have visited briefly, is in itself a great thing to have. And the reason, in my opinion, is that Palestine, to many of us, is more than soil and even places. I'm not fortunate, I have not been fortunate to live in Palestine. In fact, I visited Palestine only 3 times in my life. Yet, to me, believing in justice, and memories that arrive to us through generations. What's great about being a Palestinian, that it's a choice you make. It's not something imposed on you. All of you, most of you have chosen to be Palestinians. It's a choice because you believe in a cause. You believe in hope, and you believe in meaning of justice, and you believe that one day, if it's not you, maybe the generations to come will be there. Most of us may not live in Palestine, but all of us, Palestine lives in us. And I came across this nice quote from Dina Matar, who's a senior lecturer in political communication at the School of Oriental Studies in London. She says, in the difficulty encountered in describing being a Palestinian, the more I tried writing down my thoughts, the harder it became to provide a coherent reflection that's true and meaningful. I could not think where to start, as writing about being Palestinian is not merely about belonging or longing, or home or homeland, nor is it an argument about the uniqueness of the Palestinian experience and story, but rather a complex narrative of multiple experiences, memories, feelings, and senses that shift and change according to various situations. I think we should treasure the fact that we can define how do we link to Palestine. We should be so proud that we choose to be Palestinians, although we did not live, some of us did not live in it, but we know that it lives in us and will transfer and will transfer that feeling to generations to come. I'm so proud of you guys and what you're doing. With the words I heard, I know that Palestine is in good hands, and I think that Palestine will be always a great metaphor and a great place, because Palestine always manage to have Palestinians like yourselves. Whether it's a refugee or not a refugee, whether you lived in Palestine or not, we choose how to link to Palestine, and that's a great freedom to find these links. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Riyad. That was really beautiful. Up next, we have Noor Hussein and Marielle Cortel. They have submitted a documentary. The documentary is called Tea with Mama. The summary of the documentary is that Tea with Mama is a documentary about Afnan and her mothers as they recollect their memories of their homeland in Yemen before they moved to Qatar. They also talk about the sacrifices and the role of a mother while they spend tea time together.
The cameras made me plan. Hi, welcome back. Hello. I am Afnan Tag, and I'm born and raised here in Qatar, originally from Yemen. I always liked mom, I guess. I don't know. Like, maybe by now you see that there's like so many similarities between me and my mom. I think I just take from my mom a lot in terms of like personality and the way we are. The way we like treat people and everything's personal. And it's like she's such a family person. Because my mom, like she started her own family like when she was like 15, 16. So all what she was really exposed all her life is just family. حليب أول؟ أيوة حليب. لا شاهي أول.
أي طيب يلا. ما بنسكب الحليب فوقه. أنا اسمي حبيبة وست بيتني وعندي 5 أطفال وعشت في اليمن فترة وكتير حلو.
I went to Yemen a few times, but I didn't live there. And now, like, I haven't been there for like maybe 6, maybe 8 or 11 years. خلاص بسيب القطر بزعل يعني ما بحس إنه هنا بيتي وده كله كيف بسيبه وأروح وأخلي أصحابي وأخلي الناس اللي أعرفهم الجيران وده كله وأروح مكان تاني.
أيوة بس حياة روحي خلاص لأنه أنت جالسة ده وبعدين زوجك راح يشتغل أكيد إنك تسيبي أهلك وسيبي هذا وسيبي ده كل الناس وسيبي بيتك.
ما كنتيش يعني خايفة إنه تفتحي بيت جديد؟
لا مش خايفة
لأنه
لا مش خايفة بس يعني شوية يعني مش خايفة كده إنه حاجة جديدة في الحياة. نفس الوقت تفرحي إنه في حاجة جديدة في الحياة.
I think my favorite memory was we had my uncle's wedding one time, and just the preparation, and we had like rehearsals at home. I was the flower girl, so and we all, like me and my cousins, we had this matching dresses as well. ماما هي قلتلك بسخوت
انت بتيجي تسيب العلاقة متأخرة. خلاص يلا. عجبني الشغل ده. عشت في عدن 12 عام واستوى حرب بين الجنوب والهذا ايش اسمه شمال. خوف انه ايش اللي بيستوي بعده، ايش متى بيخلص الحرب هذا، متى بيكون امان في اليمن. جلسنا في اسبوع هناك وبعدين اعطونا فيزا لانه يمنيين ممنوع دخول الفيزا ده، فما دخلونا هناش على سهل. عمرها 20 عام.
It's really painful and it's really heartbreaking, and I think because of the fact that things went from a revolution to a civil war to a famine, that even breaks my heart even more.
لا والله ما ادريش من دولة.
هذا بالبيت؟
اي.
هذا عدن. هذا فين؟
ده عدن.
فين؟
ده عدن بالحافة قلم.
ده حقنا الحافة؟
كده كانت أول. أيوة لا استوى مطر وسيل فغرقت السيارة هذه. غرقت السيارة هذه كانت.
فين؟ إيه ماما حركات.
وريني. أيوة. اللي مريت فيه إنه لو في مشكلة، لو في حاجة ما واحد ما يجلس يشوف ويتفرج عليه بس يعني يعملوا له حل وفي تقدم. لازم يتعلموا إنه في تقدم.
I believe that motherhood is truly a strong thing that's not being appreciated enough. There is an inherent part where a mother just loves without any conditions and just keep on loving.
بالنسبة لي الأم تلم العائلة يعني، حنان بالنسبة للأم يعني حنونة أم تحب العائلة يعني. عائلة هي أم، هي ماسكة أم اللي ماسكة العائلة يعني.
يلا خلاص.
يلا.
What? Do you like move or something?
Yeah, just make it natural, you know?
ما أدري كيف حاجة خلصنا. I don't know what to do. You're so awkward. Okay. يلا أشيل هذا المايك.
Now, do you wish to say a few words about the documentary? Okay, I guess we can move on. So our next performer will be Dr. Ali Ghraib, from Professor of Electrical Engineering at Texas A&M. and he will be doing spoken word.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Well, I guess I thought I was talented and, in giving speeches, but, in front of this talent and the passion that you guys have demonstrated this evening, I mean, it is really fascinating, and I am speechless. And I have not prepared pictures or a specific story to tell, because sometimes I feel each and every one of us is a walking story. So whatever we say, it will contribute to, equally to, to the cause of Palestine. So yes, I was born and I was raised in Palestine in a small little town called Tarqumia, which is northwest of Al Khalil. And I did my high school there, and then I moved to Jordan to do my undergrad, and then I went to the US after that. Now, growing up in Palestine and under occupation, obviously, it's much harder than what we can describe or what can be described in words, because your life is always threatened, at any given time. You can be shot, you can be, arrested at any given time. And that, however, with time, you get used to it somehow. And then the fear of being shot or the fear of being, taken to jail, sometimes you just forget about it, and then it escapes you, and then you start living your life normally. And obviously, during this period of time, one goes through a lot of traumatizing experiences. And I think I recall one of them was one of my desk mates, one of my closest friends, and okay, he was killed by the Israeli soldiers. And then for us, he was killed, and we miss him and all that, but we're very strong, and then we can carry on and we can move on with our lives. But we don't know what kind of scar and how deep that scar is that lives in us, because we are always taught, we have to be strong and we have to be proud, and we can't show any weakness, and we have just to keep going. But when I left Palestine and I went to the US in particular, to do my studies, and then obviously I got to meet Palestinians who've never been to Palestine. So, but what was fascinating to me was their attachment to Palestine, and the passion that they had for the Palestinian cause was even much stronger than what anybody could imagine. And to me, the fascinating part was, because normally the bond that we have for anything, it has to result from certain experience. I mean, you cannot just create a bond based on imaginary things. So, and then seeing what you guys have demonstrated today, this evening, you're talking about the fourth or the fifth, well, the third or the fifth, the fourth generation, after the 1948. I mean, this strong bond and the attachment and the passion that you have for Palestine, and I don't know how you develop this. Honestly, it's very inspiring. Okay, and I thought personally that living under occupation was so hard because of the obvious reasons. But then after I left Palestine, and then I met Palestinians, in the diaspora who've never been, to Palestine, and then saw the suffering that they had to go through and their experiences. And I thought, wow, well, Palestinians under the occupation, they're even much luckier than those who live outside. And now, me being having spent many years outside Palestine, well, I go once in a while to visit for a week or 2 weeks, but still that Ghorbeh, what you guys call is, although I had the chance to go and visit, but still the Ghorbeh itself is very difficult, and not many people understand what it is unless until they try it. So I was lucky enough, I guess, in some ways, in some sense, that I experienced life in Palestine under occupation, under the hardship of occupation, and then I experienced it on the diaspora as well. And it has been like extremely difficult. Now, I remember I had one of my friends, she was an American journalist, and we were close, and I was, telling her some of my stories, and, how in high school, there was a curfew in my little town, and obviously you have to write your exams in the city of Hebron, but then because of the curfew, I could not leave the village. So then I had to take the risk and then run between the trees and the olive trees, and so that when I would reach the outskirt of the village, so that I could take a car, to Hebron. But obviously, under curfew, every moving target is a target to be shot. Okay, and many people, they were, just shouting at me to hide, but then I didn't, because that was my future. If I didn't make it, I would have failed and no future, obviously, because my future was dependent on that week of exams. So anyways, this is one of my little stories. And then when I told her these little stories, she said, oh my God, we should, obviously she was crying, and she said, maybe you should write a book, about your life. But then I made it clear to her that, the story of my life, probably is nothing compared to the story of many of the lives of Palestinians. So I think as long as you guys are, seeing this passion and enthusiasm and the strong bond and the pride that you have, then definitely I am certain that Palestine is safe, and one day it will be liberated. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. That was really nice words. Up next, we have Manan from Northwestern University in Qatar. He'll be performing some poetry.
Hello. Okay, so this piece, I just finished it earlier today, but this piece is called Journeyman, and it's based on my reflections being in quarantine, being stuck in the United States this past summer, and it also talks about my experiences and those of my ancestors being separated from what is now Pakistan, as we are Sindhi, and yep, that's all the background. Okay. The year I turned 8, we left the only home I'd known for the desert. 13 years later, and I'm still a stranger in a strange land. A few months ago, I returned to DC, a place that felt like home the last time I went. The past few months have shaken me, as my departure from here is just as rushed as the packing before. In moments like these, I think of the motherland and our ancestral home, lost but not forgotten. I look around the floors of my tiny DC apartment. Suitcases, 4, and barely room for any more. This has been the longest I've been away from home. 3 houses in 3 months, and my luggage scattered like my thoughts and the rest of me. I wonder if this is how those before me felt, or if this echoes the ache of those in transit. I'm an alien in this land, a circumstantial resident elsewhere, and not authentic enough for another, everywhere and nowhere. In each place I've lived under a cloud of confusion, always questioning who I am or dwelling on the gravity of being an outsider. As I write this, I'm about to spend 2 weeks in hotel limbo before I can go home to my family, my car, and some form of belonging. Truth be told, I'm done with being a journeyman, done with putting my life into boxes, done with the uncertainty of hopping from place to place. For once, I'd prefer stopping. Thank you.
Thank you, Manan. That was really, really beautiful. Our next performer will be Muaz Rabia from Texas A&M. He will be singing, and his performance is a message from the people of Gaza to the free people.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Great. So, yeah, I'm not gonna open the camera. That's just that makes me comfortable.
Just the mic is a little shaky. I don't know.
So, is this much better? I'm not sure. So, just tell me when it's better. Is this better? Nope. Okay. What about now? Is this better?
Yes.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, as Dr. Dr. Iyad said, we're not like we don't choose if we're Palestinian or not. Not actually, we choose if we're Palestinian or not. And I'm not a Palestinian. I'm Egyptian, but I was raised to respect Palestine and to respect the Palestinian issue and to fight for it, not just to like to keen on it or to get interested in its issue. So today's song, I'm gonna say that يا عالم العدالة والأمن والحرية من يوصل الرسالة للأسرة الدولية من يوصل الرسالة للأسرة الدولية ونحن في حصار شعبي هنا يعاني من شدة الطغيان يا عالم الإنسان إلى متى تنساني من يوقف الدمار في ساحات السلام لا تقتلوا الحمام في ساحات السلام لا تقتلوا الحمام هل هذه بطولة أن تقهروا الطفولة هل هذه بطولة أن تقهروا الطفولة وترعبوا الصغار دقوا علينا الباب بكعب بندقية واعتقلوا الأحباب وصادروا الحرية في وضح النهار حرياتي مسلوبة وفرحتي منهوبة ودمعتي في النار لا تحزني يا دار سيفرح الصغار وكلنا إصرار وحلمنا الجميل ما زال في انتظار. Thank you so much.
Okay, up next for our last performer, we have Haya Al-Kawari from Northwestern University in Qatar, and she will be performing a poem.
Hello everyone, my name is Haya. It's my first time at an open mic, so I'm very excited to be here. So I wrote this poem and it's basically like a bunch of my thoughts on, the theme Far From Home, and I just poured it all out. So yeah, I'll start. I wander on a sleepless night with the moon listening to my thoughts and the stars curious. In the pages of my stories, in the nonsense of my dreams, and in the beat of my heart. I believe that home is a person, one that welcomes you whole and loves you pathetically, where that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach reminds me that I am nowhere home. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful and very well put. So although Haya was our last performer who had signed up, we do want to take the opportunity to open it up to anyone who would like to speak, say a few words, or share some work.
I actually would like to say something. First of all, thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for all the performers. That was really, really beautiful. Honestly, it got me a little emotional and nostalgic for home. I just wanted to say it's nice to see that it's not only Palestinians who go through this, and being al-ghurba or away from home is something a lot of people experience, and a lot of us who are living or residing in Qatar can be away from home. So yeah, and I'm Palestinian. I'm from Jenin, and even though I get to visit Palestine, let's say every summer, I haven't been there in the past 2 years. It's still it's never gonna be the same. You never get the chance to live in your home country. You never grew up there. You never know like the traditions of living there, going through all the seasons. So it's something that it's very hard to explain, and being away from home or being in exile, you create this little image of of what home is for you, even though you never knew it, you never get to experience it. So yeah, just a few words I wanted to say. If anyone would like to join in and say some words, you're more than welcome.
I just want to say that congratulations on the organizers for such a beautiful event, and we should do more of it. It really brings connectivity and brings hope, and of course it brings what is education is all about, which is expressing your feelings, intellectual description and discussion. So I really enjoy all the aspects of it, the educational aspects and the connectivity that we develop through these events. And I put a suggestion on the chat that we've been too quiet, so we should put a Palestinian songs at the end, so to make it a little lively, right? Somebody should play something from YouTube and with beautiful pictures from Palestine. Let's end it with a positive note.
What song would you like to hear?
I like Ali Al-Kufi.
Okay, Muhammad Assaf, perfect. Hala, I'll put it.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining us. This has been really beautiful. I loved hearing all of your different stories, your different interpretations of the theme. And thank you so much for joining, specifically now that it's online. I know we're all very Zoom fatigued, but we appreciate that you took the time to join us and to share a few words anyway. Inshallah, we'll be holding this event again in a year, but we'll be actually in Education City doing it physically. So thank you so much again for joining. This event has been recorded and we'll upload it so you can watch the beautiful performances again. Rand and Zain, I don't know if you want to have any closing remarks.
I just want to thank everyone again. I enjoyed this event very much, and like I'm so happy to hear that some people share the same experience as I do. It's a bit unfortunate that we're all away from home, but at the same time, it's good to see that you're not alone. I hope one day we all go back to our homeland, inshallah.
Yeah, similar words. Thank you all for attending. This has been really lovely, and I'm really happy with the turnout, especially everything being online and Zoom. And thank you all for attending and enjoying this. I'm really glad you all enjoyed this, and like Ran said, share the same experiences as many of us do being away from home. So yeah, thank you everyone.
And just a final comment, I really appreciate that everyone was very supportive in the chat. It's really nice to have this sense of community, even though we're all very separate. And I noticed everyone applauding each other's performances, so that was great. So again, thank you all for attending. Have a great night.